Okay. Okay, yeah, so now there's a recording in progress. You gotta let Noah in. Cool. Okay, so yeah, I still can't hear Stacy. Her iPad is still connecting. It's fine. What I was gonna say is that there's a ton of component parts. Actually, no, that's not true. There are like tons of things in this drawing, but there's a few, a very limited amount of component parts. And if you just think in terms of divisions of the picture, there's really the C, which is a very flat, very narrow rectangle, that runs all the way across. There's the C, and then there's the sky. I mean, you can, there is this landscape, these rocks that layer really nicely, but it's this very thin kind of triangle of land. So there's very little bit of land. There's even less, there's less land, but only a little bit more water. And then there's these, by the title of the piece, the elements of air. I think it's supposed to show you like a range of happenings that go on. So it's almost going to be like it's like a collage of different sky elements. And there's this really, and I don't know if I've talked about it in this class, but there's a painting in the BMA, the Baltimore Museum of Art, and it's a Botticelli. It's in a circle. Botticelli has a ton of paintings in the Sistine Chapel rather. And actually he was kind of overshadowed by Michelangelo. He spent like the better part of his later years doing these massive murals, figurative compositions on the walls of the Sistine Chapel. And you can see them when you go to Rome and you look up, but like no one notices them. It's like the saddest thing. Botticelli is one of the greatest artists who have ever lived. And the figures, he was coming from kind of almost like a medieval frame of mind, which he technically is Renaissance, but he's very, very early Renaissance. And his figures were really small. Like Michelangelo broke the mold. Anyway, I totally digressed about that. Michelangelo's figures are huge, and you can kind of see them because you're looking directly up, whereas Botticelli's paintings are on the wall and they're framed out. And so you actually see them from a weird angle. So like you don't even see them straight on. And the figures are kind of small compared to the distance away that you're viewing them. So they really get lost in that space. Anyway, we have an opportunity to see a Botticelli up close at the Baltimore Museum of Art. If you make it down there, it's in the kind of the European collection, and it's in a circle. And I think there's a baby Jesus, and there's a couple of angels. I'm trying to see it in my mind's eye right now. There's a bunch of angels, and there's a baby in it, and I think it might be baby Jesus. And in the grass in the beginning, in the foreground, there's a strawberry plant, and it shows every single state of development of the from the flower, the bud of the strawberry plant, to the flower, to the small berry, to the full mature strawberry. And it's in one single plant. It's all of those stages. So it's almost like a step-by-step progression. And artists do that all the time in terms of trying to define the nature of a thing, like the way that, almost like a time lapse. Have you ever seen people that like take a photo of themselves every day of their life from like age 10 to like 30? And you can like do a montage and you can actually see them aging. It's kind of like that. And I think that's what this is. I think this guy Rainier Nooms is exploring like the sky around the ocean. And whether he was out to sea a lot and he saw these different things, it's going to be, I think it'll be interesting to explore. The thing that we have to know going into landscapes And once you get this one kind of frame, it'll be a lot easier, and you won't be like kind of as overwhelmed with the size of things. The best example is looking at the waves. So the largest waves, are the ones that are closest to us, and they're lower on the rectangle. So you move back a little bit, the waves get a little bit smaller and they get higher. Then the waves get smaller still and they get higher. And then there's like these little indicators. We'll zoom in on on these, but you can see these waves off in the distance. Obviously, the ships are lower as they're bigger and lower in the rectangle because they're closer. This one's smaller and higher, and then this one way off in the distance on that horizon line, is the highest. The edge of the horizon line is the highest it can go. Clouds are the same way, but in reverse. So the higher they are, the closer those clouds are to us. So the clouds are going to go, the lower they get, the further away they are. The types of clouds are going to be a little bit different. There's going to have we have to figure out where the sun is coming from. I mean, obviously the sun is coming somewhat from the right because this cloud here is light, and then it's got these deep shadows over here. These clouds, these storm clouds are going to be denser because you've got rain. So there's like a higher concentration of moisture, and usually they're more opaque, meaning there's less light that gets through, the more water is in the cloud. And dark storm clouds come through. Like, they're not dark because storm clouds aren't dark because there's not a lot of water. So yeah, that's an interesting, the clouds that are very thin and don't have a lot of moisture, they're the brightest clouds, and those are sunny day clouds. So I mean that's a concept you might maybe considered before, but I don't even know if I've really considered it in terms of light. I've never really painted a storm, which is I've done tornadoes. I've drawn tornadoes. I don't think I've ever really drawn a storm. I had a girl who did some storm clouds and then like a bolt of lightning, which is kind of cool. But I can't say that I've done it myself. So maybe this will be my entryway into potential storm. Okay, so the first move that we're going to make is going to be to establish this horizon line, and it's going to basically break the entire composition down into water and sky. And then I think we should put this little, kind of set the stage with almost like the easiest part, which is going to be the land. When I say easy, I mean there's going to be a block, a large block, a slightly smaller block, a slightly smaller block, and then all of the rest of the cliffs and the edge of the water. They all kind of blend together into like a small, into like this, small vanishing point right there. And then then we get like the horizon line. I'm going to be slightly less concerned about the water and the ships. I mean, kind of, if we get there, I can email you this image too. I do feel a little bit bad. I'm going to post the image on Telegram, because there's no reason why you guys shouldn't be working from like a high resolution image as well. So we don't have to like, zoom in, or you don't have to like use the screen and like the low resolution nature of the screen. So we'll do the water, we'll do the land, we'll position the water so we know where the bottom of our rectangle is. And then I think we'll, start to lay in, where some of these clouds might go, and then add some shadow. So this is an etching, which means that it was done by, like acid biting a plate. So there's not any blending. I guess that's the main point. We don't have to go into what etchings are at the moment, but there's no blending. But we get to blend. So this artist, Rainier, had to create these like transitions of lights and darks by using straight line marks. Now, what we can do is we can steal his methods, basically like look at the angles with which he's laying in the marks. Where does he make it puffy? Where does he make really light marks in these distant clouds? where there's like kind of like horizontal striations and these turbulent clouds up here, we can, blend it out, because we're using pencils. We're not using, we're not making an etching. So we actually have more flexibility. So we're gonna be able to make the clouds look more cloud-like, just because blended graphite feels more cloud-like than, pen marks, straight line pen marks. Does that make sense? Was that like a reasonable explanation? Stacy, good morning.
Oh, good morning. Hi. How is hello to everyone. Hi. Has anyone been out to enjoy the 20-degree weather?
Not yet. Dude,
No,
I was
no
up at 7. I was
shakers?
up at 7 o'clock shoveling snow. That's why I have this is my snow shoveling outfit.
Oh my gosh.
It
I've
was
got my earmuffs on.
it was like air. The snow is like seemingly insignificant. You could like blow it with a hair dryer.
Mr. Trevor, will
Yeah.
the drawing still look about the same if you're using charcoal?
So if you're using charcoal, I would try to go bigger. Charcoal is great. It's just it's like when I could actually do it right on here. Imagine if you like draw a thin pencil line. That makes like a very thin line. Charcoal, even when you make a thin one, it's still probably like 5 or 6 times wider than pencil line. So if you want to get the details, it's better to scale up with charcoal. And when I say scale up, I mean this is I'm essentially making a miniature. I mean, look at my hand. So this is what, like 3 inches, 3 inches by 1, 2, I don't know, maybe 9 inches, 3 inches by 8 inches, something very small. Do I have a ruler? I have one on my thing. All right, this pencil is officially 6 inches long. So there's 6. And then this distance is, did you know that? I didn't know the big pencil was 6 inches. So it's 8. This is 8 inches wide. And measure off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a little more than 3. So I wish it was like 4 by 4 or whatever.
It says measurements on the bottom.
Ah, yes, it is. Thank you. Oh, no. Okay, so now that's true, but it's not necessarily printed at the right scale. So this, I think they tried to make it as close to life size as possible. These old school books would do that, and then they started. I don't know. Then they stopped doing that. I love this book. So Stacy, this is from the same book that has the guys playing backgammon and.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
you are really enjoying that one.
I really am.
Yeah.
Well, there's all these unknown artists that are just really deserve some like the time. You know what I mean? They deserve the time. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should sometimes I'm like, should we stick with like the big names? But the reason I was telling the other classes, especially my adults, the reason it's so nice to teach artists that may not be geniuses, they may be super talented and had super successful careers and very smart and like very capable. It's nice to teach really high quality art processes in guys like that, rather than women and men that are true geniuses, because the geniuses have all that stuff, but it's hard to access it because the elevated nature of the art just like slaps you across the, like it's hard to like see it because it's so great. And it's not like those pieces happen all the time, but it's like, even I don't know if you guys remember those videos when I was in the Louvre with with the Leonardos, and like I couldn't even talk about them. Like it was hard to discuss it because it was so incredible. I tried to but it almost insults it it almost insults the work to attempt to figure out how it's done. When it's, like when it's so spectacular. And that's of course not true. But it can be very overwhelming, and it's not what the point of the art is. That's why these are kind of nice, useful, because you have to work to kind of really appreciate it, where a genius work just hits you and you don't need any rational explanation behind it. Does that make sense? So this book happens to be full of artists that no one's ever heard of in our time. And they've had really good lives, lived good lives, worked hard, and have made work that is deserving of attention. May not be Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, I'm talking way too much. Stacy, do you have your pencils ready?
I'm at the ready.
Are you really?
Although I could take my coat. I've been sitting
You
here
just
with my
took your
coat on.
you just took your earmuffs on.
I could take my coat off.
I'm gonna have to take my coat off too, actually. It was really pretty cold up there.
Yeah. Now looking at my soaking wet floor.
It's starting to get toasty up here. Got the heat pumping. Oh my gosh, I'm so scared. Don't be scared. Yeah, and also prayers always help. All right. So, before the end of class, would somebody mind trying to remind me to talk, like Madeline, just remind me to show you the sign that I received. I received a sign, and I see signs all the time, so it's not like that big a deal. But this one is like pretty obvious. Pretty obvious.
Tucker.
So anyway, I want to make some marks when we need a break. Just remind me of the sign from Mary. Okay, so I am gonna. Oh my gosh, this is great. I have to get positioned here. Let me see where I'm at down here. This is good. We're gonna start with something easy to build our confidence, and that easy thing is going to be a line that goes straight across. Ooh.
That I can deal with that.
I know.
As far as easy, because typically when you say easy, I get freaked out.
It is actually easy. All right, then our first. I have to name these, I think, like these sidebar notes, these sidebar explanations. Okay, so the form that we're looking for in a different angle is like this wedge shape. Okay, so this is what the cliff is doing. There's like a top plane, and I think there's windmills on the top of that. On the top of this, don't draw this yet. And then there's this side plane, and then there's the cliffs that angle down, and then I think that it actually cuts under slightly, like where the water is. So I'm going to use my little symbol for water, right, like that. So this is a slightly different angle of this first block, and we are so low on the horizon line that block, you really only see the front side, and then you see the side, and then the front, and then you get the edge of the picture. So this side's going to be in shadow, and then of course there's water everywhere, waves everywhere, but the light is coming from the right, and so the side that faces us is in shadow, and the side that angles out towards the ocean is going to be light. Now, the advantage of having done this wonderful diagram is that all you have to do is repeat it, but just make the thing smaller. So we're going back into space now. So we're seeing the side plane, And we're seeing, you know, the light front, which doesn't require any marks. Now the sky's gonna be a little bit darker, so that one of the brightest parts of the picture is actually these two blocks, which is like so weird that that's one of the brightest parts of the picture. I guess I will zoom in because I'm looking at it here with my, and one of the pictures I was even considering was a windmill. So I think there's these these like little windmills that are on the top. Okay, so hopefully that explanation was good. And then there's going to be shaded versions of that same kind of wall that just keep running down the line and get smaller. Okay. Move these over here. Janaya, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm so sorry. I forgot about it this morning.
That's okay. We didn't have class last week. I was all ready for last week, and then I was reminded that we didn't have it. So we're gonna do this. I'll fill you in as we go.
Thank you.
The only thing we really have done so far, other than me like talking, we just drew this line, which represents the separation between the land and the water. So this is this horizontal line. We're gonna kind of focus more on the sky than on like the ships and the water and stuff. We're like, this is kind of like a cloud exercise. So if you get that horizontal in there, you can catch up because I haven't even done anything. Yes, Stace.
Okay, cool.
It's like I saw your.
Oh, no. Excuse me. I was just moving about.
Like raising your hand like this? But sir, were you raising your hand or were you not raising your hand?
I was just moving my hand seemingly across the screen. However, now I am raising my hand.
Did you have a question?
No, I just wanted you to be aware of the difference in the hand.
You really know how to let me get into the zone, Stace.
Excuse me.
No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without you.
Excuse me.
Okay, so here's my side of the box, which I'm just going to call it a square, just because squares seem very understandable to me. And then I'm going to come across the top, come across the bottom, and then get this angled cliff. Ooh, yes. Okay. So just to get into the spirit of rocks, you can make a little jagged, but also, you can kind of see how the lines are, but if you can't, more importantly, see what the tone is. So we are going to blend. That's going to be crucial. And in terms of our technique versus his technique. Okay, so check this out. This is phenomenal. In order to do the second cliff, you have to go down because the cliff is this string of beads that's exactly along the horizon. So Janaya, one of the things I said earlier is that the clouds that are closest to us are highest on the rectangle, and as the clouds get further away, they get lower. And it's the opposite with the waves. So the waves are lower and they get higher as they move towards the horizon line. So it's big to small, but the clouds are top to bottom, where the waves are bottom to top. Now, the weird part is that the land is exactly in the middle. So the top of the land has to come down because it's getting further away. So it's functioning like the clouds. Then the bottom of the land has to get higher because it's functioning like the sea. This is exactly why this is so good to teach from. I mean, that is exactly what he is a knowledge aspect of perspective that he's taking advantage of, and he's doing it really cleanly, and I'm just like so thankful for that. Okay, so that first one is the top is lower, the bottom is higher, and it basically just pinches our first one. and then we'll go repeating. Now, that being said, there could be huge mountains. So it's not like, the principle is if both of the objects are close to the same size. If there's like, there could be a huge cloud that's lower. It's just that huge cloud is further away. It has to do with distance away, not necessarily the size. The size is just an added effect that the artist does to help with that perspective. Okay, so we're going to do another one that's in shadow. We're going to come up a little higher, and he's pushing these next set of land masses back, and the way he's doing it is by reducing the contrast. So we have a bright light on the cliff, and then we have a deep shadow, and the sky is gray and the water is light. When we start to push these cliffs further off in the distance, they do get smaller, but they also get, in terms of their shading, in lower contrast. So the whole thing, the whole cliff is shaded, but it's darker closer, and as they get further away, they get lighter. And it's not so much lighter, it's just that they get in lower contrast. Well, notice how he plays that up by, these are gray mountains, but they're up against gray rain, and they're also up against gray ocean. So it's basically just one gray shape. And that's how they're able to go back, is because the contrast of the mark making is reduced. It's lower contrast, not higher contrast. So high contrast is like a light and a dark. And that's what these rocks are, the first set of rocks that we did. And if you want to even push that, just to prove in your own mind that, to like force the effect. Oh, man. Like I said, we're gonna focus on the sky, but I don't know. I just got totally caught up in these little land things. But the land masses, I think, are going to be really helpful in terms of like continually repeating the concepts of low to high, high to low, low contrast to high contrast. All right, so we've got our horizon line. I've got the bottom of my picture, which is a little bit lower than it needs to be. I feel like we owe it to ourselves. Let's just do the let's do waves, but we're not going to detail them because it's too small, but we're going to do this. Here's my next one. Here's my next demonstration square. We got big waves, then we have smaller waves, then we have smaller waves, and then we have super small waves. And then the waves get so small that they're just like ripples, and then they get so small that they're just like straight lines. You see how that illusion feels like it goes back into space like that? It's incredible. And I stretched it out so you could see more. But we're basically getting like these first two rows of waves, and then they all turn into like these shaded ripples in the back, because the actual area from top to bottom of the ocean is so small, so flat. So, and you can profile these waves. The waves are it's like a whole nother game. Stacy and I did a Bruegel ocean wave piece, and it was actually the exact opposite arrangement of this, in that the sea took up, if you were to count what percentage of the painting is water versus sky, what would you say, like 1/6? maybe 1/8 even.
A
Halfway.
water
Yeah,
versus, yeah.
one
it's so-
one
it's-
eighth. 1/8 is water. 7/8 is sky. And in this other piece that when Stacey and I were studying the ocean, it was flipped. It was a very narrow sky, and we were above looking down at all the water. So it had to do with what the artist was attempting to, wants to focus on. And it's not that he doesn't do the waves justice, because he does. It just takes up a smaller percentage of the design. Boom, 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 boom. There's these little, just like these little beautiful, wave caps,
Mhm.
like these little bowl-shaped cylinders that can go back.
No, actually, I don't see that. I see one of those, but you're making them much more
That is,
apparent so that I can see them.
oh, that's
I
my
see,
job.
yeah, I see one or two, and you're helping. Yeah, you're helping me to see that. And I like how you did that little surf cap there.
Thank you.
That is
Yeah,
very,
I'm having fun.
yeah, I can see that.
I've got these little hatch marks that seem like they're giving like rows of waves or something, and then there'll be like horizontal lines that feel like it goes back. You could, if you also wanted to, you could do one. You could pull one of these guys. I mean, this is not that dangerous, but we're getting into again. I want to like glaze over. You have like a rectangle.
Here.
You got a rectangle that represents a boat. Here, you've got a rectangle that represents a smaller boat. There, you have a rectangle that represents an even smaller boat and smaller still. So these become little stand-ins. I can't tell if that's a bird. I guess there's a couple more that are super off in the distance here. That's fun. So if you use like the rectangle metaphor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh man. All right, fine, I'll do it. But I was gonna say I don't want this to be repeated. But you could use like notes, like low notes versus high notes in terms of distance. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The further away, the higher it goes. I like that. The same thing will happen for the birds too. It's the same device with the birds. The birds will be the finishing touches, but you have like a bird that's close, a couple that's medium, some that are further, a couple that are kind of really far, and who knows, there might even be some other speckles in there that we can't even see yet. But yeah, it's like the Claude Lorraine strategy: big, medium, small, really small. Like you see it in every like cheesy seascape that's ever been made. What we've got here now is a framework for which to focus on the clouds. So it's a context. We have land, we have ocean, and now we have this big open area where we can, we're kind of like free to think about clouds. Yeah, and I was getting a little nervous about the rectangle here. It's actually kind of interesting because the background for the for that ship that's closest to us is these little it's like these like little angled hatch marks, and they are kind of attached to the cloud that's in between. I'm when it comes to doing landscapes, are you guys kind of like up to speed? Do we have our generic waves, big to small? We've got our generic land, goes from big to small in the back. If everybody if there were there, we can start thinking about the clouds and like, there's two major large zones of clouds. Now there's multiple zones of clouds, but there's two big cloud masses. There's this, cloud that kind of pours in from this corner, and then this one that pours in from that corner. And these clouds here is almost like it's a continuous mass. So it starts above us outside of the picture, and then it dips down, then it turns the corner, and then it wraps all the way around, and then it turns into this really wonderful cumulus backdrop for all of our ships that are down here. So you get a really good look at cumulus clouds in their, being right upon it, and then being mid-level, and then basically lit from, backlit. So the lighting is up above here. So we're seeing really the bottom of these cumulus clouds, where as that turns the corner and they get further away, there's clearly a light side and a shadow side to all of those, kind of cotton ball puffs of cumulus clouds. Yeah, and the values are look at the contrast here. I mean, there's like really dark darks, really light lights, but there's really soft grays in the shadow side of these puffy clouds. There's going to be there's the spirit of clouds, and then there's like the letter of the clouds, meaning the letter of the law, meaning like you can copy, if you wanted to, you could copy every single puff, like count them, like 1, 2, 3, 4. You could count them, or you can be like, okay, I know how he does it. It's right. It's light on the right, it's shadow on the left. There's no hard edges. They're all little speckled, little dots, almost like perforated edges to these clouds. And so I know how to do the clouds that are in this bunch. I know how to do the shadows of the clouds that are in this bunch. And I'm not going to copy every single puff. I'm going to, stick with the formula and then make my own clouds. So where you sit on that is fine by me, wow, what if we turned it upside down? Okay, I'm not going to do that just yet. The storm clouds are denser, and they feel more geometric in the sense that feels like there's more straight lines, but there's this like almost upside down Mickey Mouse head. Do you see that? Like that cloud's like a Mickey Mouse ear, and there's like the back of Mickey's head, and then there's like the other ear. Do you see that? I hate to make that reference, but it might be helpful in terms of seeing what it might look like. So this is a major cloud that comes in, and it does a similar thing. It's a different style of cloud. It almost feels like it's like a wall, like bellowing out. And that makes this curve. And as it turns the corner, it gets so dense with rain, as this comes down and it turns the corner to go away, it kind of passes behind our original landscape, not before it unleashes all of the rain. So this vector of rain is going to be really kind of fun. So there's like the light side of this density, and then it goes deep into shadow, so no light can get in there, and that's where the rain is like pouring out. Just like most other kind of interesting drawings, the transitions in between the groupings are kind of cool. So if you look at the in between our first cloud and our second cloud, we have these like kind of stratus clouds. Maybe they're like horizontal. They have an interesting texture. They go really dark. And then those lighten up a little bit, and we have some horizontal lines that like make like for an interesting mid-tone. And there's this little backlit cloud that looks like a little dolphin in there. And then it goes to clear skies. There's this like little opening. So it goes dark, medium, light, dark at the top, medium in the middle, light at the bottom. And that light sky is going to backlight, the rest of the clouds as they come down. So we got the cumulus clouds that have a clear backdrop. So there's this little gap that's in between our cumulus clouds and the start of the cumulus clouds and the end of the cumulus clouds. It's like the donut hole. If you can imagine, this is the left side of a donut. That hole is, there's no tone there. Oh, that's interesting. And then this could be the donut bending the other way. So you have the light side of the donut and then the dark underplane of the donut. And then the hole in the middle of the donut is where all those clouds come down. And so in the way that we have a dark clouds up against the light backdrop here, in the shadow side, we have a light cloud up against a dark background because that sky has become so dark. And that's, of course, figure to ground relationship. So meaning the figure here is a dark cloud up against a light background. And then the figure here is a light object up against a dark background. So there he inverts lights and darks to be, depending on what the background is. All right, I hope I didn't spoil it. It's better to know what we're getting ourselves into and then try to execute it than not know anything going in blind. There's a side of me that wants to start from the left side and move to the right because of so I don't smudge things. But I feel like I need to get a handle on my ranges. There's all this excitement, all this aggressiveness going on in the clouds. And I kind of want to just like do these calm clouds first. I want to do the calm before the storm. That's my plan. And I feel like if we get a handle on these, these really nice cumulus clouds, we can put in some birds and, experiment with the stratus clouds and see how dark our pencil goes. Then we can, we'll basically break the project into, two sides, two components, the right side, and then the left side. And I think the right side is a better like training ground. So let's just give this a shot. All right, so I'm sketching the darkest part of this cloud. And this is a little dangerous because clouds are so ephemeral. So you don't want to like do too many lines, but you see the horseshoe shape, it's like the clouds like S curve in here. And then they turn the corner and they turn into these cumulus clouds at the bottom. Oh, that's fun. All right, so yeah, so I'm seeing the underside of this cloud here. And we have such an advantage because we can blend, we are going to be really glad we're able to blend. All right, so there's the top of the clouds, the top of the cumulus clouds that are actually light up against the dark of the stratus clouds. And then the underside silhouette are like kind of gray clouds up against the light of the sky. So I haven't started any cumulus clouds yet. I really need to establish some tone and practice this blending. I really want to practice blending. And I haven't even gotten there yet. So I just need to make sure there's enough pigment down here. Ooh, and I can kind of find this cloud over here. Ooh, that's fun. And then I'm going to see how it turns the corner. Now this is where it's amazing. Right above our ship, the marks get so light. I mean, all these distant clouds, in order for them to feel like they're far away, the lines have to be all broken. All little like pixel, like little dots, pointless dots. Maybe there are some straight lines, but the straight lines that are there are so faint. The light, I'm going to put a sun right here off screen so that just like our sphere, you get the light side and the shadow side, light side, shadow side, light side, shadow side. Okay. And by having the sun, on the right side, we know that we're actually, shading the bottom of a cloud here, you know, the underside of this cloud. And we want to, you know, making clouds with an etching with just like scraping into a metal plate or like, you know, scraping off, you know, going through the process of etching, you have line work and you don't have, there are techniques that you can use to get tone, aqua tint stuff, but he's not using any of that. He's using like pure line work, and it's you know, it's harder, but we're using pencils, so if it's easier, we should take advantage of it. Wow, that's so fun. So if you, as you're making these marks, you're making these tones, really try to have, like, you might be copying what I'm doing or copying what you're seeing on the screen, like go back and forth, like look at what you're laying in, but also just like in your heart and in your head, like feel clouds, like think cloud, you know, because it just helps. It helps so much to have it almost in the back of your mind, or almost, I don't know what subconscious is, but like even in your subconscious, like, you know, even though you are drawing tones and your intention is to draw a cloud, also have like cloud vibes in your head. And that goes for anything that you're intending on doing. And you have the intention, you do the work, but then there's the idea of what you actually want to accomplish, like written down in a piece of paper in your pocket or something like that. It's ever present, even. Oh, wow, cool. Okay, so my clouds that I need to be lighter, I can't add white. You know, if I was painting, I'd be able to add white, and that would be awesome. And that would be the advantage to using paint. Again, we don't have that. So I need to draw the background, these stratus clouds. I'm calling them stratus clouds, but I don't know if that's true. So don't quote me on that one. It just feels right when you say stratus. It feels like, you know, I think horizontal, and the horizontal are very different than, you know, these angles and these, the puffiness and the roundness of the cumulus clouds. So, but I need a darker background so my cumulus clouds can be light.
I'm going to go now.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a
Guys.
great week. I'll send you the video.
All right. Thank you. See
You're
you.
welcome. Ciao. Oh, I didn't, interesting. Okay, so I didn't mean to misspeak, but I said like you can't add white, but you can remove, you can use your eraser. Watch this. Say I like accidentally blend over all those clouds. I can come back in with my eraser and pull out the graphite. And in a sense, it feels very, you know, it feels very cloud-like to do that. I'm using a lot of tone because I'm like I'm like playing up how much graphite I you know, how much I love graphite and how nice it is that we're using it. It doesn't change the fact that we can still use the marks. I mean, you can still use lines, you can still use texture marks, you can still look at the, you know, how I mean, some of these angled lines, like, you know, can create that, the density of the imposingness of that cloud, that first cloud. So just because I'm like encouraging blending out, you can come in with lines and marks on top of it. So we kind of enjoy a combination of these two techniques where he doesn't have the combination. He just has the line to hold on to. Hold the line. All right. And you can work this and rework it. What I recommend is that just take it to a point where you're like, I don't know what else to do next. And then we'll move on. I have, you could spend whenever you get caught up in an area and you want it to be perfect, and you have many components in the picture, the idea is like, you just like don't want to leave until it's perfect. But the thing is, this cloud will never look perfect, even if it is perfect, without the rain clouds next to it, without the ship. So it actually, in order for you to know whether you're in the right path on the cloud that you're working on, you have to move on to the rest of the picture, even if you know it's not totally complete. So just get it to a point where you feel comfortable, and that and if you don't know what else is left to do, move on. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think I have I feel happy with my combination. I'm also acknowledging that, like, my graphite is a gray. It's a dark gray at best, and he's using ink, like he's using like really high quality ink from run through a printer, through a printing press. So I could keep punching my darks as dark as I want, and they're still never going to be kind of up to his caliber or whatever. So you got to accept that as well. All right, here we go. So this is where we're starting to get pretty low on the picture, and as we turn this corner, these clouds actually get huge, in real life or whatever. As you're thinking about them, they're actually massive objects. This is maybe one cloud. Like this whole cloud, how close we are, probably represents this little bunch. But because the clouds are so far away, they get small. So we are drawing more and larger clouds off in the distance, even though in our world, the two-dimensional world, like this little framing, they're super small objects. So it's like, I guess maybe that's ironic or seemingly like what would be the word? Counterintuitive. Even though our clouds are getting smaller on drastically smaller in the drawing, the objects themselves are actually enormous. So I'm just doing these puffs, puffy. And it does seem like there is a bottom to these clouds, to the point where these puffy clouds have a backdrop, like kind of like a gray sky that takes us off into the distance.
I think it's very interesting how the cloud formations directly above the largest ship that are narrow and horizontal mimic the horizontal narrow waves.
Okay. Yeah.
I see
again?
an analogy there.
Yeah,
of
just
the
say it again.
Sure. The clouds toward the top of the picture
Yeah.
that are horizontal
Yes.
and long above the
Aha. So
right there.
these clouds here, they mimic the waves below it.
Yes, exactly.
Sick. So good.
I see that.
Oh, totally. I mean, they're not reflections.
No.
But
Right.
they conceptually reflect it. So I think hopefully what she's saying is that these lines up here, big, small, smaller still, those look like here. Yeah, and they do. And that's great. So it is like a mirror image in terms of concept, even though it's not an actual reflection of it's not a reflection of the ocean. Yeah, great stuff. Thanks, Stace. The other interesting thing as she was talking about that, I was like trying to figure out what the hell she was talking about. But then, so I thought of another idea. There's the way that the clouds turn the corner right here, that he actually gives you a vector with the mast of the ship. So these clouds go this way, and their center line is the mast. And then the angle of these clouds that we just made up here, that angle is echoed in the crossbar.
Echo.
And then the curve in some of these clouds up here are echoed in the sail of the boat. So I think that is interesting. Like if you look at the angle of the ship, the angle of the ship right here, and then the angle of the striations in the underside of the cloud, there's a connection there too.
And I also found it really distracting, but initially, but I don't now, that the very center boat, the mast is almost completely vertical, as is the furthest left line of the mountain ridge or cliff or
Yeah, so there's this angle and this angle. Now, let me do my next.
no, I was saying vertical, but that's okay.
So my demonstration square, this is the horizon line, so that's a perpendicular. If you look at the ships as we move to the right, the ship is vertical, then it's tilted slightly, and then it's tilted drastically, and then it's almost sideways. So if you look at the way this is straight, that's tilted more, tilted extreme. That gives us an interesting flow, in terms of the angle of the ships. I know we're not doing the ships, but I think it's worth it knowing that like there's these themes and variations on the theme. Okay, finally, let's get to the fun part.
What was that?
The rain clouds. The rain clouds. Yeah, I mean, you could probably come back in and do a bunch more details on these cumulus clouds, but like I said, we can come back at the end. We have to just we got to address stuff. Okay, so here's the donut, y'all. So this is the donut that turns the corner, and the side of the donut is kind of broken up into two groups. There's like these really like kind of the puffy wall of clouds, and then there's one kind of solid puff. Hopefully this is the ear of Mickey. So there's these puffy clouds up here, which are all broken, more like cumulus clouds. And then the wall, the ear of Mickey, I hate saying that, has a light side, which I'm going to use these perforated edges. Then it has a midtone. And then it has a shadow side. And the midtone angles up to the right, and then basically the Mickey's head and the second in Mickey's other ear, all of this is storm cloud.
Oh, now I see Mickey.
Yeah. And
Oh.
it's upside down. It's a Mickey upside down.
Oh, I see it right side up. So how funky is that?
You see it right side up?
Yep. Sure do. Except one ear is very elongated, the one on the left.
Well, I'm not sure. I'll look for it in a second. I like never want to look for Mickey. I think I may have been slightly traumatized from Disney movies. So our touchstone, or the bellwether, or the kind of our the standard that we're working off of is this cluster cloud in the middle. There's the light side, then there's the mid-tone flat plane, and then the left side. I just think it's I think that is so important because everything, all the other clouds have those principles in it. So there's like the shadow side, the midtone, and then I keep using a solid line for that, and that's why it keeps getting messed up. I need a broken line to show the edge of that cloud. And you can kind of follow the middle back. You can see the side where it goes in shadow again. Goes in shadow again. And as it gets, closer to us, those clouds get higher up. And this is the great, there's going to be the great breakdown. I did the shadow of the cloud. And even though the shadow side of the cloud is dark, where the rain comes out is darker. So this is what's wild. So the shadow side of the cloud, believe it or not, is lighter than where the rain's coming out. So you may even want to just put in a heavy dose of rain up against the edge.
Okay, that looks unbelievable. That rain thundering down.
Now, I know you can hear it, you can feel it.
Yeah, that's really, really quite something.
Now it's in one sense, he has an advantage because the lines like rain reads so well in these lines. So I'm going to blend out where I'm up against the edge of the cloud. And maybe I guess I'll blend some of the rain, but I know I'm going to have to come back over because I really want these dark lines to be striations so that it could be, couldn't be mistaken for anything but rain.
Yeah.
And that might be why the rain on the water might be why the water is so dark up against those distant cliffs too. That's an interesting take. I mean, you ever seen, like big clouds, especially if you're driving in the countryside where there's like flat area or even farm fields. I mean, these clouds throw enormous shadows onto the ground.
Yeah.
You see these beautiful shadow shapes. And I think the water is, being rained on. So there might be some dark texture because it's darker, but it's also in shadow. So it could be dark because of the disruption of the rain hitting the water. And then it could also be dark because of the shadow being thrown onto the water from the cloud. I tried to remain a little bit disciplined and not make the rain go all the way down because it as abruptly as it begins on the edge of this cloud, almost like symbolically starting. I mean, if you think of, man, I should start a book of my demonstration squares. If you think of like the cliche cloud and then rain, coming down like that, it's wild. How almost like how cliche the rain cloud really is. Incredibly cliche. Actually, I made mine looks more naturalistic. I mean, this is what, you go on the Weather Channel and they're like, it's raining. Like that's the universal symbol for rain. And then you can add a bolt of lightning.
The other thing that I think is so interesting.
Is there lightning in there? I don't think there is. Sorry, Stace, what's that?
No, that's okay. I was just saying the other thing that I think is so very interesting that I've seen a number of times in the South is seeing where literally the rain starts and stops. And I think in this picture, I'm imagining just that on the in the very, very distant area beyond the cliffs.
Yeah, totally. Like, right, like it's raining here and it's not there. I remember one car trip we were driving and it was pouring on the other side of the highway. And on our side of the highway, there was no rain, like no windshield wipers, no nothing. And the people on the other side were like driving slow. They're like, oh my God, their windshield wipers flashing. We're just like,
Yeah.
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 Okay. Last little thing. It's like a question mark. Not really a question mark, but it gives it. So in the way that these clouds have turned the corner, this one comes down and turns the corner that way. There's this little baby cloud that seems to make this like a little spiral. So this is the cloud that I'm sorry, I should have put it up here. So this is the design of the cloud that I'm looking at. There's this little tail that goes off screen. So it comes down, it turns the corner, wraps around. I don't think it comes back out this end, but it's like a curly Q. So there's a little center. So the idea is that you understand this spiral concept, but now you have to draw it with all these little broken cloud lines. And the reason we need to draw that is because that is the light part. We need to shade everything around it so that it looks like a light puffy cloud up against a dark stormy sky. And I love this little moment. And when it's almost like this was such a treat. I did not see it, when we first began. Getting a deep level of engagement with an art piece like this, this is like the little payoff. Because I did not see this and would never have seen it. Maybe I would have seen it if I lived with it for years or something, but and that's what art does. People that don't make art or don't study it like we do, they'll have a painting that's in their house and they'll have it for a lifetime and then to keep discovering more things that they hadn't noticed before. And I'm like addicted to those discoveries, like revelation. I'm addicted to revelation. Like I want to see things and know things that have been unknown, at least unknown to me. I'm like, and it's just so aspects of nature, spiritual aspects, cultural, historical. It's just a curiosity, like this insatiable curiosity. And I don't know how, and there's no other way you can take the slow route and never draw it and just live with it, or you can take the fast route and draw it, and you'll learn more if you take the fast route. Not that one is good or bad. We had this painting. My Aunt Ethel was a painter in Buffalo, and
Ethel.
Yeah, and she did this painting of a kind of a little port town in Maine, a cove. It was technically a cove, Pigeon's Cove, and it was dirty. It was old. It's probably from like the 1950s, and we had it cleaned, and we took off this top layer of varnish, and it revealed like all of these little teeny houses that were on the far side of the shore. And my dad had been living with it since he was a kid. So it was painted before he was born, and then he inherited it, and then I was living with it my whole life, studying it and being interested in it. And then once they cleaned it and like these little houses came out, it was so special. It was like seeing, it was like a hidden secret that had been kept stored away for decades. And it's just it was so nice. Anyway, this little curly Q cloud, that's the big revelation for me. That's my little gift. that I've received. So now that I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so I can get a handle on what I got, what I need. And get my edge here, my edge along the bottom. And as a sketch, it's a really good sketch. It's very,
Mhm.
it's got all of the parts. Now, sketching, you want to try to, the different sketches have different goals. We addressed all the parts. We can see things cohesively. Now I can kind of, I can just like pick and choose what's interesting to me now. I can, now that we've addressed
Mhm.
kind of all of the clouds and the water and the land, I can go in and like see how my transitions, how does one set of clouds transition to the other? I'm thinking about this middle section in here. How do the birds help bring us back into space? What is going on with the boats and the windmill? We have like kind of our stage. The goal was to kind of learn about the clouds, which we've done. And now we can kind of, decorate it, I guess you would say. It's like, this is like the baking of the cake. Like you have to mix the ingredients, you have to preheat the oven, you have to bake it for the right time, you have to bring it out, you gotta let it rest, and you gotta make the icing, and you put the icing on it, and like it's gonna taste great, and then now we can kind of put the finishing touches on it, ice it further, and we can put birds on it. My mom is the best cake decorator.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's actually kind of a genius. I didn't always appreciate it, but now that I've been like spending a lot more time in the kitchen the last couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole new level of understanding. All right, here's this little bird. So the bird, it's so funny. All right, so there's a bird with a beak and a head. He's got a little S-curve body and a tail. He's got an upper wing. He's got a lower wing. And then, that will be the most amount of detail. These birds that are up here, they have a body, a right wing, a left wing. They look more like bats, if you ask me. And then there's ones that are even further away that just represent wings.
Mm-hmm.
Just represent wings. So small, but the sea and its birds are just so beautiful. It's getting windy out there. So I'm not trying to be lazy, but I am also trying to be realistic about how much time we have. And wherever you want to go is valid. We could go into the little ships. They're dark ships up against the light ground. Oh, okay. So yeah, I've got to show you my signs. Is there a little castle? All right, let me do this just so you guys can see it. And if you want to take screenshots, you can. Let me go as close as I can get. All right, so there's that little ship. Let me keep these on the same plane. Yeah, let me put it in the light. Okay, so yeah, he's got these windmills, these
Mm-hmm.
classic windmills. This one seems to be the first one seems to be like a rectangle. And then it's got this base, this like trapezoidal base. That has a light side on the right and a shadow side on the left. It's got a little window. And then it's got the blades. I didn't do such a good job on that. The next one is smaller, all the same stuff. Shaded in a little bit more, got the blades. Third one, smaller still, has the blades and a little bit of the body. This one, the first one, is level with the ground. The cliff comes in front of that one, and then the cliff comes in front of the third one. Wow, nice. I mean, I'm drawing like a total buffoon. It's so small on my end though. And I'm drawing on the screen and not what I'm looking at. Oh, that's great. Oh, I love it. Okay, so the buildings that are on the second block are designed exactly like the blocks, meaning there's a left side and a right side. The left side's shaded, the right side is light, and then they overlap them each other. And that's only the front face of that other wall. So, yeah, and then not ironically, they're on top of the front face of the cliff. So on this side, it's shaded. Oh yeah, Stace. Here are the here's some of those rolling. You can kind of see the see how there's like the rolling waves, these little cylindrical ones.
Yeah, they have what's that word for a little like the gully? What is that word?
You get trough.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I think trough is the word.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a close up of some of these clouds with those little broken lines. So just for the record, my eye, this is like basically zoomed in on, meaning even no matter how close I get to what my book is, I will not see it as clearly as this. My eyes don't allow me to focus. So the technology is allowing me to get a better look at this than I would otherwise. Unfortunately, wait, maybe I can move this.
Wow, that was so helpful what you just did.
Yeah, my lamp is coming down and the camera itself is casting a shadow onto the boat.
Yeah.
I didn't notice there's this little flag. There's those, the different flag designs.
Yeah, and I didn't even really notice the whole real configuration of the boat other than the sail and the jib. So this is great. Can I
Take a pic?
yeah, I just did.
I'll text it to you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna post this on I'm gonna post this on Telegram. So
that would be great.
yeah. And I gotta be better about that actually. Okay. I'm gonna show you the wonderful signs. You can look at this boat in the meantime.
Oh, is that in this picture?
No.
Oh,
It's the next page over.
I was gonna say, I know, never mind. Ouch. Tucker.
Tucker thanked you.
Yes, he did. Got my attention. Come on, let's go. Come on, Pop Top. In jail. Yeah, no bite. Stay. Come here. Come, no bite. No bite.
All right. So do you guys know the
No bite.
like I guess it's called the Miracle of the Sun, or at Fatima? There's this Italian village that these children had revelations of Mary. Mary like appeared to them in the sky, and it was like canonized by the church and everything. It's an amazing thing. Anyway, this is the cast hall at Mitchell School. So we have all the casts, and we had there was a rainbow that landed right on top of
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yes.
It's not. The rainbow is way stronger in my photo than on the screen. So anyway, that happened. And then I texted it to my friend who I gave him one of the Marys. I had the sculpture, and my friend
Mhm.
Peter, who's like really devout, who loves Mary, loves Jesus, he's just very, very devout. So I gave him the Mary, and I was like, it wasn't heartbreaking, but it was like, oh, I love this Mary too. And then as soon as I gave it to him, this sculpture like came up at an auction, and I bought it for like $10 or something. It's like, and it was like, and it was, oh, so that is a whole nother thing. Anyway, so I texted it to him, and he showed me, where did it go? Okay, so this is at a church where it is a stained glass window of the revelation, like of Mary appearing, and you can't really see it. No. Maybe this is better. Come on, I'm getting focus. There it goes. And so there's what happened, regular people saw the sun like shooting out. It was like flashing and shooting out like different light. And then there are all these rainbows that they saw. And then Mary just like hung in the sky. And these are these like little girls who were able to see them. And they're like locked. It's like a pretty well documented miracle that you can like look into. Anyway, the narrative is amazing, and the art that's come out of it is also amazing. So Mary and the Rainbow is it's a really wonderful theme, and this person obviously crushed it. But when the rainbow fell on Mary's face in my class, Peter was standing in front of he was standing in front of this version of the exact same thing. And that just blew my mind as a sign. And then had another sign, which wasn't necessarily biblical, but I was out in my backyard and I was walking the dog, and I heard this like chirp, and it was like, "Grah!" And I was like, wow, I've never heard that from a bird before. And then I was like, oh, should I go look for it? And it was kind of cold. And so then I brought the dog in, it chirped again. And then I was about to close the door and it chirped again. I'm like, all right, I got to go out and see this thing. So I went back outside, and it was this flicker, which is like, I can't remember. It's like a golden winged flicker, and it's like speckled. It has this like black collar and these red feathers on the back of his head. It was like the most beautiful bird I'd ever seen. And I was like just freaking out over it. So I looked it up, and like, this is what it looked like. And I saw it fly away, and it had really these yellow wings. And then I had this is me in my study, but I had this painting in my studio for like a couple months. I got it for Kristen for Christmas, but I had to reframe it and all that stuff. And we had this like kind of a very deep connection with like these woodpeckers. Like, we have a bunch of woodpeckers in our house, and so I wanted to get her the woodpeckers, and this one came up, and it wasn't the exact kind. And I was like, oh, so I was kind of like disappointed that it wasn't the bird, like the exact bird that Kristen and I had like kind of bonded over. And then the morning that I was installing this painting, the actual bird came out and visited us in the backyard.
No.
Yes. And so then yesterday is when I was bringing it home and installed it. And when I saw the bird, I didn't even recognize it as being this exact thing that was in the studio for so long.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
I know.
And it really looks great on that wall. And And
Thank you.
look at
There's
Bailey.
there's Bailey. There's Bailey. He's so happy in my lap.
Yeah, and completely as an aside, can
Yeah.
you zoom in on the piece of art that you made?
Yes, Chuck. That's my painting.
Yes.
That's from. That's I can't remember what part. Maybe it's like Liberty Park. You have to see it in person.
Yeah, it's
packed.
beautiful.
Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anyway, those are the two things that happened this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I had Mary and my connection with my buddy, and then the Flicker arrived in person and in art.
That's really something.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
It's a golden age, people. Things are looking up. Just wait. Just
So
wait.
can we take, it's 12.
Yeah.
Can we be sure to have some
Oh
time so
crap.
we can
No,
do
no. Happy
a,
Valentine's Day. Yeah. Hey, will you guys just show what you did? I
we
don't
can
mean to
have
not. I don't mean to not be interested, but
have a view?
no. I want to see what everybody did. I just but what I'm saying is if you have to go, I understand, but
I didn't mean to cut off all of your work, Trevor. You're on your walls.
no, you're fine. Simone, can you go first? I have you up first.
Yeah, I was actually I was working on something a little bit before class started and I kind of
Mhm.
wanted to finish it.
So you
I
wrote
didn't.
it out?
So I drew something else.
That's fine.
I was continuing to draw what I was drawing and I did.
A little bit closer to you.
Cool, dude. Well, that's
Nice.
interesting. Yeah, I was so close to drawing angels today. I love that. Yeah, I love those wings. Goodness gracious.
And that looks like you.
Thank you.
That looks like your profile. Is
Yeah,
it
that
meant to
is.
be? Yeah.
All art
It's
is
just like
self-portrait.
you. It's
Jackson,
beautiful.
you want to go?
I can't go. This isn't my favorite drawing that I've done, but
Oh,
line it up right.
and I need you to get yourself nice and straight there. And can you come over a little? You're a little off screen.
Oh, you're using you used a pen.
I did use pen, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, come a little closer to yourself and free.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, you keep going off screen.
Yeah, that's better.
Oh my goodness, so much better. And a little closer to your screen and freeze.
In focus. Cool.
Nice. Let's do
That
that
looks
one more
good.
time. A little closer to your screen. To your yeah, and freeze.
Dude, you got your
That's
own style,
excellent.
man. You got
Thank
your
you.
own style.
Thank you.
Madeline, you want to show yours? That's pretty.
Yeah.
Cool. You went big too. That's good. Yeah,
Like
so
a
yours was like taller than it is wide in terms of the reference. And and you adjusted it nicely. Do you know what I mean? Like when you whenever you're adjusting, like stretching it or contracting it, it's not always the easiest thing, but you made it work. So that looks good. Thank you. Sebastian, how about you?
Got a storm going there.
Place pen. Yeah.
And freeze.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
I like it. Very interesting. Very like the clouds feel very ephemeral.
Mhm.
Noah, are you in the house? Good job. I think.
Do you see Noah and I don't?
No, it's not up yet.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Let's see, what's up? What about Dara?
Mine kind of looks like everything is smushed together, but
It's okay.
Oh, wow.
That looks great.
Yeah, I
there's
really
there's like such a clear textural variation in all of the treatment of your pencil, which is really great. It's like an interesting like visual trip across the sky. And actually it's smashed together, but it feels very cohesive. You know what I mean? Like I think it's actually a good thing. And yeah, I love the mark making. Noah, are you alive? Do we need to call 911? All right, it's all good. Good work, y'all. Hopefully that was cool. If you
may
guys
we
want- if you
may
guys
we
want
see
email-
yours once again, please?
no,
Trevor?
let's see yours, Stacy.
Mm. Okay, well, never mind. I don't need to go on and on, right?
Holy
I
crap.
could like, bits and pieces.
Wow. No, I love your rain too. Yours is taller as well.
Isn't
Like,
it?
sometimes it's nice when you have more real estate up top.
I cut, I wound up making it shorter and
Yeah, you
shorter.
did
It was
crop it a
much
little bit.
taller. Yeah.
But still, like it feels like the area around the rain, it's nicer to have more space. You know what I mean? Like the clouds being higher, I think is better. That looks nice. I mean, I don't
Thank
know,
you.
better than his. Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, that's so nice. May I see yours once again?
Yeah, let me see if I can put it up here.
Ah.
Did it work?
Yes.
Uh-oh. Is it still there?
But-
Oh gosh,
Yes, it is.
I can't see it.
We'll make it go away.
Huh.
I'll send it to you.
No. Oh no, I see it now. I see. It's not. There we go. That's better.
That's and if you could, there, a little further back. So I can, yeah, a little bit more. And freeze. Down a little. There you go. Excellent.
It's a little less distorted. Okay, thanks for going on that
Nice.
trip with me. That was, hopefully you learned something.
Oh my gosh.
And send me any requests if you want. You can email them or put them on Telegram. I'll find it. Stay warm, everybody.
Thank you so much, Trevor.
Thank you,
Everybody have a
Trevor. Bye.
great week.
Thank
You're welcome,
you.
guys.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey,